Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing a sort of tutorial on how to do sort of some basics with command blocks, and also one of my pretty well requested features was holding items gives off sort of particle effects. So if you held like a diamond sword, you'd get a trail following you of different particle effects. So I'll show you how to do that and how to set up some other things just to get you started. So I created a new world, flat world, with the redstone ready preset. I prefer this one because it goes really far deep down rather than the default one. But yeah, so I'll show you how to set up a fill clock to start off with. So a fill clock is probably the more useful of all the command block things you can make. It's pretty much what I always start off with. So you're gonna need it if you're gonna do anything to do with command blocks. So first of all, the way I do it is make a pillar of 3 and then destroy the middle one. Then in the console command we enter fill and then a tilde, which means first of all we'll talk about the syntax of the command. So so it kind of works like this. It fills an area between the two x values, the two y values, and the two z values, and it fills it with that block. You can also enter a data value for that block and do some other things like replace stone 1 and stuff like that. But anyway, I'll just show you how to do it. So tildes represent the same coordinates, so it's basically, if you enter a 0, then it's going to do it from the 0 coordinate. If you do a tilde 0, then it's going to execute from the 0, well, it's going to execute from the command block basically. So tilde is just shorthand for tilde 0 basically. So we're going to do tilde, tilde -1, tilde. So that's going to do it from one block below, and then one block below again, and 6 blocks in the Z direction. You can change this number to anything you want. I usually just put it as 6. So then we do redstone underscore block. Now we copy that command using Control A and Control C, and then we do Control V to paste it in here. Now we change redstone block to stone, and we get rid of the negative signs, so it's going to do it one block above. And then when you place a redstone block in here, you get this. You get a fill clock. And these redstone blocks will continually execute command blocks placed next to them at a rate of 20 times a second. So if I do say test, I'll get test 20 times a second. Now, one thing you can notice is that in the chat it just spams the console sort of thing with 7 blocks filled. And that's because we need to disable a few game rules. So the first one we want to disable is game rule, and then you can press tab to autocomplete. So tab, command block output, false. So now it will no longer spam the console. We can also do game rule, I believe it is log admin command. So I'm going to type in log, then tab, and change that to false as well. And that will stop the, if you run it on a server, it will stop the server console being sort of spammed. That one's probably more optional than the first one. And again, you can do things like, because this is a flat world and single player, I'm going to do mob spawning false, so we don't get annoying skeletons and everything spawning at night. Okay, so now that we've got a fill clock set up, we're going to talk about how to actually get particle effects when you're holding an actual item. So the first thing we need to do is set up a scoreboard which will track when the player is holding the specified item. So when you're holding the diamond sword, it'll be a score of 1, and when you're not holding it, it'll be a score of 0, like a boolean value sort of thing. So to do this, we're going to do scoreboard, objectives, add. Remember you can just tab autocomplete most of these, so that's how I do it really quickly. Scoreboard, objectives, add. I'm going to do HoldSword. You can call it whatever you like. I recommend having it something that's easily recognizable and having a sort of unique syntax to everything. and the dummy represents something that's not going to change unless you change it. So it's added that. So now we want to do a few commands to get this working. So the first one is scoreboard players set for all players with a score hold sword of 0. We want of 1. Hold sword 0. So this is going to set all players who are holding a sword to it's going to reset their hold sword score basically. And then I should probably mention that command blocks are executed in a sort of coordinate based thing. So that's why I changed the fill clock to do 6 as the last number, so that it goes in the positive Z direction. And that means I know that command blocks are going to be executed in this order. So this one first, then this one, so on like that. So we can actually use that to our advantage. So I'm going to copy this command in here, paste it here, and instead of setting it back to 0, I'm going to set all players score hold sword score to 1 if they meet the correct NBT data. So selected item, and then we want ID Minecraft diamond sword. So this is hopefully going to set my score to 1 when I'm holding it and 0 when I'm not holding it. And the reason we put this here is just to reset the score back to 0 whenever someone's not holding a sword. And the reason this comes after it is so that it can like overwrite the score if it's reset to 0. So basically the last command block executed is the one that sort of runs, if that makes sense. So if I do scored objectives, set display, sidebar, hold sword, we should see that I have a score of 0, then when I'm holding it, a score of 1. It'll sort of flicker because of this command block, but that won't affect the actual commands. So now we got that set up, we can start doing effects. So for this one, we're going to do execute from all players with a score for hold sword min value of 1. So this is basically going to run a command from all players who are holding a sword, and it's going to be the particle command, and we are going to run different particle effects. So if I do particle tab, you can see a whole list of different possible particle effects. So for example, let's choose happy villager. That's the sort of green emeraldy effect. So happy villager, it is case sensitive, so you have to be careful of that. And we're going to run it from the same coordinates with a spread of 0.2 in each direction. I'll sort of explain that in a second. And we're going to do a mode of 0 and a count of, let's do 5. So when I hold the sword, you can see that I get a trail sort of on the ground of these effects. Now it is a bit low down, so let's actually change the height. So we'll set it 1 block above, tilde 1, and now it runs sort of from my player. Now that is probably a bit too many, so let's change that down to maybe 2 or so. That's a better number. And I'll now explain the sort of spread. So in the particle command, there is like, or it's called speed in this, I call it. No, it's XD, YD, and ZD. And then there's speed, count, and mode. So I haven't actually got a mode on this. Force is one mode. But anyway, I'll explain this. So these are the coordinates that the particles execute from. And then these are the sort of coordinates where the particles can appear. So if you just want it dead on at those coordinates all the time, you do 0, 0, 0, and that spawns it right at the coordinate of where I am. So it makes a nice line sort of thing. If I then do 0.5 0.5 for the y coordinate, I get a sort of spread along the y-axis. So they appear 0.5 from the sort of middle point. So that's useful for quite a few effects. You can do, like, if I do red dust, and create cool sort of, probably not enough particles, but if I do 20, cool sort of trails following you, like that. Yeah, it's probably way too many. But then if we do, so that's the spread in the y direction, spread in the x direction, and spread in the z direction. So we'll just leave it as 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. And then this is it's called the speed variable, but it can change different things. You just have to play around with it's different for each particle effect, basically. So red dust is a pretty cool one, because setting it to any value above 0 will actually change the color. Instead of being red, it will be a random color. So look, now we get some sort of disco particle effects, which is pretty cool. We can also do things like, if we change it to smoke, I'll change that back to 0. Then we have just smoke that sort of appears and then floats up slowly. If I change that to a score of, say, 0.2, then it sort of goes off in random directions. If I change it to 1, then it'll go off even faster and sort of goes crazy. And that can be useful for sort of, well, I use it for blood splatter effects using certain particles, but yeah, it is pretty cool. Change that back to 0.1. So yeah, that's one effect. I'll now show you an example of doing multiple effects. So this is just playing one effect, the smoke effect, whenever I hold the diamond sword. If we want to do something like a cloud, a raining cloud, we can do that. So we do particle cloud, and we're going to do it 3 blocks above, and we're going to keep the spread at 0 for this, and we're going to have no speed. So if we hold the sword, we can see that we have a sort of cloud above our head. Actually, I might give it a bit of spread, maybe 0.1, just to make it a bit, yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we have the cloud part, and if we copy this command and then paste it in here, and we just change particle cloud to particle, I think it's splash, and that'll be probably 2.8 maybe blocks above. So yeah, you can see that now. I think there's a better particle for that. Let me just look. Right, it's particle droplet, that's it. So if we go ahead and go in here and do particle droplet, yeah, there we go. We now have a cloud that sort of rains down on the person, and you can pretty much change whatever you like in here. You can set it to do 20 a second. You can set it to do, I don't know if this actually changes anything. Maybe not. Let's see. No, I don't think that actually changes anything. But you can do different things like that. We can set it to have a spread of 0. Stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and that it was easy to follow and stuff. I'll probably try and leave the commands in the description. I mainly did this video because quite a few people had requested it, so if you have any other things that you want me to show you how to do, I'll try and show off those as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.